So this is a recording about making scatterplots on the calculator and also describing associations, which is what we'll do in Chapter 7. First, you need to enter the data, where we usually do, in stat edit. We're looking at two variables. We are exploring bivariate data analysis here. We want to see if there's a relationship in general between the variable in L1 and the variable in L2. What's really important here is that the data match up. So what I mean is this 169 and this 169.5 have to correspond to the same individual. Otherwise, your analysis will be impossible. To make a scatter plot, it's pretty easy. You go to second y equals, as per usual. Go into one of the plots, make sure it's turned on. Select the scatter plot option. This is your x variable, this is your y variable. We usually leave them as L1 and L2, and the mark is whatever you want it to be. And then also, as per usual, when we're making a stat plot, we start with zoom 9, unless we definitely know what our window should be. So the calculator makes a window up for you. So one of the essential skills in Chapter 7 is being able to describe an association from a picture. There are 4 categories, just like we had categories when we were describing distributions, like from histograms or stem and leaf plots. The first category is direction. Is it positive or is it negative? Think about slope. Does it slope up? Or does it slope down? Okay. Sometimes this one is referred to as direct, like a direct relationship. One goes up, the other goes up. Whereas this one is referred to as an inverse. But the adjectives positive or negative are sufficient. Okay? Any questions regarding direction? Yes? I do. Yes. Any questions regarding direction? So what's going to happen is I or the College Board or somebody else in statistics will ask you to describe the association between two variables, and this is what we will expect you to cover. We want to know from you, is it positive or is it negative? We also want to know from you, what is its form? Is it linear? Does it follow a line? It doesn't have to be a perfect line. It could be anything else. You have the entire mathematical function set at your disposal here. You could have a quadratic relationship. There are a lot of quadratic relationships in physics, like projectile motion. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the entire parabola. It could be half a parabola and still be a quadratic relationship. It could be sinusoidal. I'm just giving you a few examples here. Okay? But mention the form. At the AP Stat level, generally we expect that you will describe it as linear or nonlinear. But it is helpful to know these other mathematical functions. Yes?
What form would be a moderate?
Well, think to pre-calculus. You study a whole bunch of different graphs in pre-calc, right? Think about what a log graph looks like. It's the inverse of the exponential. So an exponential has this form. Remember, inverses are reflections over the line y equals x. So this is what a logarithm looks like. Okay? What's beautiful about mathematics is it tends to describe things that people haven't discovered yet. This happens many times. Somebody discovers something in mathematics, no one knows what it's going to be used for, and then a few centuries later, someone figures it out. It's pretty amazing. Okay? So I would not dismiss any mathematical relationship that you learn. Okay? Great. The next category we want to hear from you is how much scatter is there, or how strong is the relationship? For now, we will discuss things in qualitative terms. Later, we will have quantitative measures. Okay? Just like from Chapter 4, we had qualitative, and Chapter 5, we have quantitative. Qualitative, quantitative. So, you could have a strong relationship. Where it tends to follow a line, or whatever. It could follow a quadratic. Alternatively, you could say little scatter. You can have a moderate relationship where there's more scatter about some type of mathematical equation. Okay? And alternatively, you could say moderate scatter. You could have a weak relationship. Means that there's a general direction, but a whole lot of variation. Okay, so that would be a very weak, albeit positive relationship. And if there's no relationship, it's just a shotgun. If you don't know how a shotgun works, it's filled with a bunch of very small pellets that get spread out. It makes it easier to kill an animal. Okay? You don't have to have as much accuracy. Any questions on the strength? Finally, as Maria spoke to, mention anything unusual or out of the ordinary. For example, if you had a pretty strong trend and then one point was like this, definitely mention that. That doesn't make sense. Why is it there? Is it valid? Okay. Also, I forget who, but somebody mentioned something about clusters. That is also something that you could point out. Basically anything that doesn't make sense or stands out. So that's it. Make sure to discuss direction, form, strength, and outliers or any other unusual features.